Well, and he, living in the academic world that he does, where he should have been especially mindful of saying the kinds of things that he said, even by accident.
Horrifying that he thought.
Who knows what he was thinking and how it all tumbled out of his mouth. But look, I don't know anything about this man. It would be ironic if, in looking at his career, he sounds like a normal academic, which is to say, sort of a mainstream liberal guy, and he's in the mainstream of the academy, and so on and so on. It would be ironic if he has supported in the past speech codes or any of the usual academic stuff. In which case, he lived by the sword, now he dies by the sword.
We have to take a little break, but I want to come back to that, whether the cat is out of the bag with books like The Bell Curve and the like. Also want to talk about privatization, because Bob Herbert wrote a fascinating op-ed piece yesterday. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what he said. And
I don't always read those op-ed pieces.
Especially when they're written by Bob Herbert.
Well, there are some other authors, in fact, most of them, but you'll tell me.
Our number here is 212-267-WNYC if you want to join in the conversation. We'll be back right after this. He talked about Christy Todd Whitman wanted to, she discovered that the state had a bunch of marinas. And she said, we got to sell these things. And discovered she couldn't sell most of them because the families had already suspected that somewhere down the line this sort of thing might happen, and they said, if you want to sell them, the rights revert back to us. But one was available for sale. And I don't know, they estimated it at $20 million. And of course, when the time finally came, one bidder showed up. And it was $900,000.
Hi, I'm David Brancaccio.
And then when they took off this and that and the other thing, the state has netted $13,000. And if you discount all of the money that it has put into this marina to improve it over the years, it's a net loss of many millions.
A capital investment. Well, yeah, but on the other hand, why should the state have a marina? And obviously
why not?
You want to
serve
do
the same
these
reason
things.
the state has a beach. But
well, we'll talk about this on the air. We can mention Foster, can't we? The Surgeon General nominee.
Rick Brookhiser suggesting something that he wants to talk about, and that is the fight over the nomination of the new Surgeon General, perhaps. The new Surgeon General. I'm Leonard Lopate, and Richard Brookhiser is here. He is a senior editor at the National Review, writes a column for the New York Observer, and anywhere else that he can.
Anywhere else that will have me. It was what you meant to say, but go on. Go on.
And these days, you must be very happy because a lot of people want to have you.
Well,
and we started you.
That's right. In 1980. We won't even say when. Okay.
It was in the mid-'80s, right?
Late 80s. Yes.
Like 86 or 87?
Something like that.
Okay, let's talk about the nomination of the Surgeon General. When Republican presidents nominated conservatives and Democrats asked about certain things in their past, there was a hue and cry. This is the president's person. There's nothing wrong with him. You should just automatically
sign off.
Right.
Well, now that was mostly over judges. Well, okay, all right.
But many got through as well. Kennedy, Scalia,
right.
Whose ideas were
very
anathema to most Democrats.
Now,
and remain
well,
so.
Okay. Now the laws, I think the rules on judges have now changed. Partly as a result of some of those confirmation fights. And maybe at the beginning of that period there was an assumption, or the Republicans were assuming or trying to make people assume that, a judge is supposed to be a judge and he's not applying, he's not supposed to apply his own convictions and so on and so on. So therefore, why do you bring them up?
A judge is about politics, which is below.
However, well, all right, we can argue about that, but that's a different argument. Now, the Surgeon General's post was changed. Really, it was transformed by coup, and Jocelyn Elders stayed in that tradition, and it's a post with a much higher visibility, and people have sort of got used to thinking of the Surgeon General as someone who will be, an advocate, someone who will have opinions, someone who will express opinions.
A bully pulpit.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if Dr. Foster intends to do that, but
Dr. Foster's a rather conservative man politically, and if you look at his attitudes about family and about adoption and drugs and whatever, he sounds to me very much like somebody the Republicans could like. He has one thing that they don't like.
Well, right.
Outrageous.
Well, it's outrageous. No, it is not. But the question at issue for the Republicans who are complaining about this, and we talked about this the last show when John Salvi was the peg, is whether it should be legal or not, whether it is right that there be 1.5 million abortions in America a year. Now, certainly it is legal. Slavery was legal up until 1863, up until the Emancipation Proclamation. Was it relevant that the Buchanan administration was stuffed with slaveholders? Probably it was. A lot of them went on to high positions in the Confederacy. And it is no accident that the Buchanan administration took the attitudes towards slavery that it did, that it welcomed the Dred Scott decision, that it tried to push slavery in the territories, that Buchanan's own response to the secession of the Southern states was so helpless, and so on and so on. So if these issues, no, wait a second. I'm drawing. Well, yes, you look. These, but if these are okay, all right. Let's take any controversial issue, any issue that is still a matter of controversy and that goes to the roots of what people believe in politics. If it is still a matter of controversy, and if it's still legal or if it's not, people who oppose position X are going to fight it when someone who believes in position X is nominated for something. That is just going to happen.
Can you imagine, before Prohibition, people who were opposed to drinking holding up the nominations of cabinet ministers because they had been known to take a drink or two?
What they certainly did was they opposed the re-election of people who supported legal alcohol. I mean, that was the entire strategy of the Anti-Saloon League. They were the first not the first, but they were single-issue voters. They said, we don't care what your position is on anything else, but if you're with us, we're with you. If you're not, you're not. And, that led to Prohibition, which I happen to think was a catastrophic mistake. But this is not a strategy in politics which is exactly new, that has never been seen before.
Well, they weren't shooting. It's true, they weren't shooting secretaries at breweries.
All right.
They were better people.
Well,
they were worse people.
No. They broke up saloons. Remember, Carrie Nation. But and then there's also in the Foster thing, there's another angle to it, which I'm sure. Now, Leonard, I know you bailed out of Clinton long ago. I don't think you were ever with him. But if you had been, I don't think you ever were. Yeah. But if you had been, it looks like one more of his patented Clinton things. Didn't I see a thing in the paper where he said he supports Dr. Foster if what I believe about him is true? And I thought, Doctor, pack your bags, go home. You're out of there. In a week.
Bush would stick with this guy to the end. You know that, the way he did with Clarence Thomas, the way he did with Robert Bork, the way he did with most of his novels.
Bork was Reagan, but Bush. Well, Bush was funny. I mean, because I think he was basically a man of no ideas and principles, beyond the most elementary sort of interpersonal things. And yet, yes, and I think it's interesting to draw the parallels between the two. And yet he did stick with Clarence Thomas, and I pondered why he would have done that, and.
They say he was loyal to his friends.
Yeah. I think that's the answer. Well, I think that's a good question. I think, just looking at this as as from a purely political point of view, I think what might be the best thing for Clinton is to stick by this guy with guns blazing and say, this is legal. He's doing what gynecologists do, and I'm going to stand by my man. And if he gets rejected, which he probably would, and then liberals would feel, well, look, there's some signs of life in this corpse here, and then he'd have to keep on with it. But
he might actually start taking stands on issues.
I'm not taking any bets that that's what he'll do.
I think right now Michael Lerner has been replaced by another spiritual guru, Marianne Williamson, and the
Wow.
I remember many people made fun of Nancy Reagan for her astrologers. I think some strange things are going on in the White House right now.
It reminds me of, Henry Adams said that to go from Washington to Grant was itself a disproof of evolution.
Although he was probably a better general. You're listening to New York, and don't you think Grant was a great general?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
New York Company on AM 820 WNYC, New York Public Radio. I'm Leonard Lopate, and my guest is Richard Brookhiser, senior editor at the National Review, TV star, New York Observer.
Well, TV star now because I'm being filmed, so therefore I must be. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, every Sunday on CBS, plus a fair amount of PBS shows. PBS under attack for not having enough conservatives. But there you are. There's Peggy Noonan. There's your